Battlefield Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Battlefield Podcast, episode 159. I am Ola, aka Chalk1, alongside Tim, aka Darkness429. And this week we are joined by Jake, aka IntheWorks, who you've probably seen around Twitter and YouTube as well. Big Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3 player, YouTuber. And we're going to talk a little bit about some Battlefield 4 related news first, and then we're going to talk a little bit about Second Assault, after which both Jake and Tim have had the pleasure of playing. Tim played it at the Showdown, right, Tim?
Oh, yeah.
And Jake actually has it on his Xbox One, so we can talk a little bit about that. I don't have anything to say other than I'd love to get the damn DLC on PC already, but so we'll get to that in a bit. First of all, though, I guess one of the news, we talked briefly, I think, about this before. We've seen a bit of rumblings on Twitter about how various law firms were trying to find plaintiffs to try to launch some sort of class action lawsuit against EA, not from the consumer's point of view. So not, for Bob Smith, who purchased his game at the GameStop and is upset about it, but rather from the stockholder's point of view, from the investor's point of view. So this actually now has happened, according to, where am I reading this? oxm.co.uk. It's a North California law firm that has filed a class action suit against the publisher, EA. And it's on behalf of stockholders. And I guess the reason for that lawsuit is that all of the well-documented bugs lead to a lack in sales, which again then leads to a lack of profits and revenues, which, of course, if you are a shareholder, and Battlefield 4 is, according to this article, Battlefield accounts for approximately 11% of EA's revenues in fiscal 2012, so that's a fairly substantial amount. I guess that it impacts their investment negatively, and they're not happy about it. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, I guess from a shareholder's perspective, that's a fair enough argument, since it did drop, 7.5 points or percent, I think, whenever they announced that they're going to be delaying some projects relating to Battlefield 4. So I guess if you're a shareholder and you're disappointed with the way they handled things, you could feel slightly deceived. I think from the consumer standpoint, this is probably okay, this is a little bit ridiculous, but I guess from a shareholder looking at the financials and saying, okay, well, if this game comes out and it's ready to go, we're good to go. This is a good investment. Where EA's like, nope, we're going to rush it out the door. Here's a buggy copy and it doesn't sell well. I could see where the shareholder is a little upset. I don't think that it'll go anywhere, but I guess I understand why they're doing it.
I think it's time for EA to be recognized for this behavior that they're known for doing, for just rushing things out the door and not really fixing what needs to be fixed before releasing it out to the public. So if anything, this kind of just sheds light onto their behaviors and hopefully helps clean up their act. It probably won't, but it'd be nice to see if that actually happened.
Well, it could have a negative impact, too, now that I think of it, because one thing that we've always talked about before and that we feared is having this rinse and repeat cycle similar to the EA Sports games, where we get a new Battlefield every year or maybe one every 2 years and alternating between developers. So let's say EA loses this or something, or at least it hurts them badly enough that perhaps some of the free reign that they've given DICE to explore and experiment with new technologies, I don't know, maybe they will actually put them on a tighter leash and say, you know what, never mind all the Levolution and that stuff, just make another one that's just like Battlefield 3 and works and sells well.
Yeah, that's disheartening because that completely destroys innovation.
Well, it's funny because money talks with EA, clearly, so this is probably one of the clearest messages that they'll get, that this didn't go well enough. It's always... They'll never listen to people on Twitter complaining about bugs in the game, but when their shareholders get upset, that's something they would probably take notice of. But hopefully that leads to better games in the future, not sort of less ambitious games, I guess.
Well, the interesting thing is I actually was talking to some people last night about what they're going to do next year. Because, the Battlefield 4 is obviously a 2-year lifespan. That's kind of what they've got their I guess, stuff positioned to do, is for it to push into, the next year and be a game that's continually making money. That's the whole idea behind Premium. But they tried with Warfighter to create this sort of like annualized thing where it's like, okay, Battlefield Warfighter, and then their plan was to have another Warfighter game.
Right.
Seeing that Warfighter failed, they couldn't do that, and I think they actually pushed up Battlefield 4. Now, that could have been part of the plan all along. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people seem to have different opinions on that, but I read a thing talking about how a lot of analysts are expecting EA to essentially have another Battlefield for 2015 ready to go out the door, and they expect the next Battlefield that kind of fills the gap between this one and the next one to be made outside of DICE, perhaps Bad Company 3, perhaps some sort of spin-off. I know there's been a lot of rumors circling around about a spin-off, so I'm actually kind of interested to see if this makes them take this in a different direction as far as what's going to be the stopgap, because if Premium's not making the same amount of money it made with Battlefield 3, it doesn't make sense to wait another year to push another title out.
And I think the point of Premium is actually a really good one to bring up, because for Battlefield 3, that provided a lot of extra money. And I was a proponent of Premium then. Now, I mean, I did buy it, but I've had several people ask me, and I said at this point, I don't recommend getting it, because there's really, to this point, no benefit to it yet whatsoever, except for some small in-game items and stuff. But the DLCs, we don't know when they're coming yet. We know that stuff's going to go on sale, so honestly, next time around, I probably wouldn't get Premium until it actually becomes time that it's going to give me some benefits, and I can probably pick it up on a sale for 40-50% off. So, I don't know. I think this could go both ways. It could, people will think like, oh, this is good. It will give EA a kick in the ass, and developers will get more time to get their games right. Or they'll just be told to be a little bit less ambitious and get them done faster, just like the sports franchises. And those games sell, hand over fist every year. And they're not revolutionary. They're very much evolutionary, where it's just a small upgrade, new lineups and stuff like that. But I don't know. I'd hate to see that for the Battlefield series, but I guess we'll find out.
I'm actually pretty curious whether or not they actually do start some sort of like rotation, similar to the way Call of Duty works. Just because Call of Duty, they rotate developers every year. So I could see them being spurred to be like, hey, let's do this. Let's have a game come out in between, which is exactly the same thing as they're playing. We'll let DICE work on the big ones. So Bad Company 3 could be a possibility. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, we also have Star Wars Battlefront coming out.
Right.
In the
Which
future,
DICE is supposed to work on, right?
Right, exactly. So
DICE LA.
That could add to the mix.
So I think it's not going to be the main Battlefield people. I think it's going to be within DICE LA.
I don't know. I saw from DICE people from Stockholm that they were moving on over to Star Wars. So I mean, it could be a collaboration of both offices. I'm not sure.
Either way, in an ideal world, we just want everybody to work on the game we want for as long as possible. And, realistically, that's obviously not possible. So hopefully they'll find a happy medium, and we'll see. This sort of leads me into, I was going to skip the Easter egg thing for now, because we just talked about bugs and stuff like that. Latest patch for PC came out 2 days ago, I think, and fixed something, broke several other things.
Lots of things.
And I will say right off the bat that Tim and I talked a few days ago about topics from this next podcast, and we were thinking we got to find some positive things. I don't want this to be another podcast where we just nitpick and talk about all the negative stuff in Battlefield 4. But and then that patch comes, and it's really difficult it's not like we can just ignore it. So it's a PC-only patch, so everybody that's playing on the consoles, you still get your regular freezing of things, so everything's normal.
Well, PS4 did get a patch.
Yeah, they just rolled one out yesterday, I believe.
It's apparently really good. So.
Is it?
Yep.
I still hear... How's it on the Xbox One?
Well, I mean, I like the experience on Xbox One, but there's some definite stuttering and just overall, like... I guess frame rate drops throughout the entire... Any map you play on, you get some sort of frame rate drop when there's any sort of levolution or any sort of like big event happening, big explosion, gunfights. I played Metro today, and oh god, it cannot handle Metro. So
like performance wise?
Yeah, performance wise, it tends to get bogged down on Metro. I don't know why. I guess there's so many. It's really when it's 64 players. If you play on like anything below that, typically it can handle it pretty well. Right. But when there's 64 players all chucking nades up a staircase on
it's a
Metro,
lot of particles.
It starts to feel it.
Yeah.
Well, so the PC patch, what did it actually fix? Let's talk about that first, maybe.
The only thing I've noticed different about the patch, besides my game not actually working, is the kill cam, which was integrated into the game to, I guess, fix the trading that was going on, the one-shots and trading and stuff. If anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, now when you die, you actually fall backwards, similar to the way you did in like Warfighter, where you actually go outside of the body and then you go into like third person and you die, and it just disappears. So
it's a little jarring when that first happens. Like it catches you a little off guard. It feels strange. I guess you get used to it.
Yeah, I don't like it personally.
Everybody I've talked to doesn't like it really, and some people think it's there to cover up bad, quote unquote, bad netcode. And I guess I can see that. It seems a little odd that they would put that in. Like, you know, if you're not covering something up, then why? Like, why? What's the point? Why would you do that? I don't know. It's odd. But I guess the biggest thing probably for PC gamers who use SLI or Crossfire setups, which are two video cards running in combination, all the textures turn into some sort of seizure-inducing flicker fest.
Yeah. And it's
you guys
funny,
both use it, right? Tim, you use SLI. Jake, don't you use Crossfire?
He uses Crossfire.
I have Crossfire.
Yeah. And it's funny because I'm reading through the patch notes that came out and just reading some of the things that they said that they fixed. And one of the fixes was fixed for graphical flickering appearing on terrain. And it's funny because that's what broke. So it seems like exactly what they fixed broke on another set of things. Some of the other things they fixed too was the, which I didn't know they did, there's the SUAV not exploding when hitting enemy soldiers. So instead of you cutting through multiple targets, it explodes on impact.
It's very, very difficult to get kills with it, if not next to impossible now. I thought it was going to be like the MAV where you could just like slam into people, but I hit a guy directly not moving, it blew up, and he didn't die.
Well,
so I don't know if you need to like clip him in the head or what.
I mean, I guess that deals with those stupid kills that would really upset some people.
Yeah.
But so I guess that's good. But I don't know how they come. Something that was mentioned in the article about that lawsuit actually was that I think was it Patrick Bach said that they really need to overhaul their Patrick Soderlund. Need to overhaul their Q&A and bug testing procedures.
It's funny because those things weren't even implemented at the beginning of the release. Like they almost completely skipped over Q&A.
Well, I mean, they must do. We know they do testing. Obviously,
they do testing, but there wasn't a significant amount that was applied to the game pre-launch.
See, what I talked about on Twitter a little while ago. And that relates to this patch is that we being people who are on consoles and they have to wait for patches to be certified by Microsoft or Sony,
right?
Always complain about that, right? It's like, it sucks because DICE won't make patches or won't do frequent patches because it costs money and it takes so long because they have to look at them. I wonder if this kind of patch that breaks video graphic settings like that would have ever appeared on the consoles, and I guarantee you it wouldn't have.
No,
because someone would have looked at it and been like, "Wait."
They don't actually check for that, though,
don't they?
The certification process is mainly to make sure that like the main battle log feature that's integrated in there, and like the Xbox Live dashboard and like the PSN overlay stuff, all that stuff works in unison with it, and it doesn't cause any sort of like system type things. I don't think they actually go in and check the graphical integrity of anything. I think it's mostly like a Xbox Live / PSN type check, so that they know that it's not going to go in there and create like a huge flaw where it just destroys the operating system.
Well, there goes that idea, I guess. But you would have thought that at some point, PC, yes, there's a great variety of hardware configurations out there, which makes it a challenge. But you would have thought that somewhere along the way, during their testing of these patches, they would have had somebody with a Crossfire setup and somebody with an SLI setup.
Right. Well, do
and
you remember,
just run it, right? I mean, it's
do you
just
remember
one of those
in
things.
the Battlefield 2 times when we actually were able to beta test patches before they went live? Like there was an actual way you could install a patch. You'd make a copy of your Battlefield 2 folder, and you would copy it over, and then you'd apply the patch to that copy, and then you'd go into beta servers, and you would actually beta test for them, because there are hundreds of thousands of us. There's only a couple of DICE people that are doing the testing. You know, I think there's like a team of like 30 that are doing the testing. But what we could do in a mere matter of hours would take them, you know, weeks to do. So what I'm interested in is why isn't DICE doing that program again? Why aren't they doing some type of beta testing program for their patches for us to actually to do?
I imagine that caused them quite a bit of headaches, but
I thought it was great
logistically. No, I know, but I think I know that there were different servers, you know, different server versions that had to be public, and
Well, as quick as they push them out now too, I think a lot of people prefer to have the quick patch turnaround. And I try to give them a break when it comes to like, these game-breaking things, but the fact that they broke the game so heavily this go around just really bothered
in
me
such
a lot.
Basic way that
Right.
literally you notice instantly. It's not you have to do something strange and something bad happens. It's like you open it up, it's like there it is.
Yeah,
broken.
it's visually,
and it's like an AMD problem, which blows my mind because isn't AMD their partner?
Yeah.
Let's not talk about Mantle.
I guarantee you they're designing the AMD platform, what they're doing with all that stuff. They're doing it on Crossfire like 290s or something. They probably, and that's one of the main culprits of the people who have been affected or whatever. So,
all right, well, hopefully they'll come up with a patch for this soon to fix that.
Yeah, they claim they have a fix already.
I would imagine that they probably do, because it probably is such a basic fix, such a basic problem that it's easy for them to fix. But again, it's probably going to take another week or so, or a few days or whatever, for that to reach players. And
there's a couple of people have put YouTube videos together showing a hot fix, but it still doesn't completely fix the problem. Like it stops the flickering, but it still doesn't display textures correctly, and it's kind of hard.
I guess the only
to look
surefire way to fix it would be to disable one of your two cards.
You just have to turn one of the cards off.
Yeah.
But then you take
I actually did that though, and every time I've done that so far, the game has crashed.
Interesting.
So I don't know what the deal is there. It's probably something.
There's also nothing worse you can
PC.
tell somebody who's running two $400 video cards in their rig than to, just turn one of them off.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. Just, that probably doesn't go over all that well anyways. But, all right, so Easter eggs. There were several lately that were hinted at by various DICE folks on Reddit and Twitter, and then Jack Frags made a video, and the Battlefield friends were involved somehow, and there were dinosaurs and spaceships
aliens and sharks and
sound files, and people spend hours looking at hex code and opened up sound packs. And a great idea, horrible timing, or just a ruse to get everybody to look somewhere else?
I don't think it was a ruse. I just think it happened to come up at the time where people were trying to find ways to enjoy their $120 investment. And they're like, hey, the game doesn't work. Why don't we look for Easter eggs? So I think it was more of a community thing. It
was really cool to see the Battlefield community come together as tightly as they did. I mean, there were servers that were up doing this Megalodon hunt, and the Reddit community wasn't really angry at each other for once, which was cool to see. There were
now it's business as usual.
now it's back to normal again. But it was cool for that week or so. I mean, some people actually found some really cool things. They found some really cool audio files. Someone actually tore apart the entire audio file and found a whole thing of Battlefield Friends noob audio clips, because they were there in Stockholm doing a whole recording session for like a week, and they found the entire audio clip of him, which was pretty funny if you go through and listen to him. They found some weird audio clips that are on the resort, on Hanen Resort, which people are still looking for. And then we ended up finding the T-Rex Easter egg that's on, what is it? What's the dish map?
Rogue Transmission.
Yeah, Rogue Transmission. So that's where the one of the really cool Easter eggs was. So.
No Megalodon.
No Megalodon, which I still think is a little ridiculous. I mean, we're kind of going off of what Jack Frags was showing off in one of the Battlefield 4 Friends videos, and then kind of off some description from a book title, which I really didn't understand all that much. So I think someone would have noticed a very large shark at some point.
Well, I think there was one in the clouds, maybe.
Yeah, someone pointed out in the clouds, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, I see it!" And it's like, "Oh my god, I see Jesus in my toast too."
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's kind of fun. They've always had little Easter eggs in previous games. You know, little dinosaurs in the tunnels and or in various cranes and stuff like that.
Right, but now everyone's saying that there's one in every map now, from what I've heard.
Well, I think some of the DICE devs actually have a lot of fun with this, especially if they know what's where. They'll just go on Reddit and just say like, "Oh, by the way, this map, there's something, no one's seen it yet," and then they go away, and you know, the community goes crazy for that for a couple hours or days. And
DICE is definitely having a lot of fun. They usually every couple of days they'll highlight one of their employees on Twitter, and one of their employees, as his background, had a megalodon eating a whale. And so I think they're definitely getting a kick out of this for sure, like little kids with popcorn.
Well, I mean, they probably, in all honesty, are not having a very good time right now over at DICE, especially those people who are involved in working on patches and trying to make things better, or the people who have to deal with the community directly.
Yeah,
you know, whether that's Battlelog forums or I know there's a few of them that freaking Reddit and, like you said, Twitter. So can't be easy for them, so it's good that there's some lightheartedness going around. I don't know. It would be nice to... Most of the stuff happened while I was at work, so I was very jealous I couldn't join any of these search parties and stuff. But
don't worry, it was just a lot of just diving underwater.
It was. I know some people spent literally like 8 hours walking search grid patterns across Parasol Storm. Or not walking, but swimming and doing all sorts of things. But it's fun, I guess. Second Assault. So this is I don't know whether to call that the first DLC or the second DLC.
It's like the 1.5 DLC.
Yeah,
it's the Xbox One timed exclusive DLC. Correct. To be released on other platforms at a later date.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it will be the next DLC we get.
I would think so.
I mean, it's done. So I
just don't get it. Like, why did they do Xbox One getting both DLCs, and we only got one? Everyone should have just gotten Second Assault.
Yeah, we talked about this before. We said that it should have just come out early.
This was like something they hit Microsoft.
Yeah, it was promotional, but still at the same time, it was silly that
it was just the timing was kind of weird. Like, I don't know why they were so close together.
Well, it's always weird when you're premium members too, because China Rising only came out yesterday for regular members on other systems. So it's always strange, and I've already sort of signed off on China Rising for the most part. But Second Assault, I think, is the DLC that I was looking forward to the most because it has, obviously the 4 maps from Battlefield 3, and those
some
are
from
still
Battlefield 2.
I guess.
I mean, Gulf of Omen is technically from Battlefield 2.
But it was also in BF3, so it's been around as a fan favorite twice now. But it's the
even
maps
though
I remember.
It didn't get the highest voting.
Well,
which I thought was kind of strange.
The whole issue of these are the 4 favorite maps from BF3 can be debated. I know that there are some pretty strong opinions.
They just picked the maps that they felt could be improved most with the Levolution. Yeah. Which I have to admit, Firestorm, not very exciting in BF3. It was kind of, it's there. But it's a lot better in the Second Assault. In my opinion, it's the most improved map out of the 4 maps. So
what are the things? What are some of the things that they've improved on? Because you and I played Caspian in London, so we kind of know, and I think we've talked about Caspian Border before and the things that they've done. But like for Firestorm, like what's some of the biggest things that they've improved on?
Well, with Firestorm, there's a lot of those cranes. You cannot actually bring down the cranes in Firestorm, from what I understand. That's only something in Oman. But you can, however, light the giant oil fumes or whatever, and the oil that's just around the map. That can be lit on fire by blowing up certain areas. And that'll stay lit for probably a good 2 or 3 minutes. and then it goes back down to not being lit. So if you need to clear out people camping in those giant oil drums, let's say you're playing Rush, when you push up to that first set of objectives and there's a bunch of people camping in there, you blow that up and they basically lose all that cover. So that's something that's pretty interesting to me, just that you can alter the environment with fire. Same with Metro, you can actually light the outside of Metro on fire.
Yeah, that dry grass.
So it's cool to see the fire kind of integrated into Battlefield, because it's something we haven't seen in the capacity that it's in Battlefield 4. But
is there still problems with Second Assault servers on Xbox One?
yeah, it's very, very difficult to find games. From my experiences playing today, I was trying to get gameplay, obviously, for this, and the only real good servers going were Conquest, and you could sometimes find a Metro Conquest game. I typically had to play in Europe, though. There's almost no Rush servers going, and there's always one Capture the Flag server going. So I would say in the entire North America, East and West Coast, along with Europe, there's probably only 5 or 6 Second Assault servers going. So
how many
kind of disheartening.
How many China Rising servers are on right now?
I couldn't tell you. I think there's a good amount of them. When I was scanning through them, I remember seeing some. But
you think they would equally balance out those two with official servers?
Yeah, it seems like if you want to play Metro, there's really only maybe 2 servers going that will offer you the Metro experience. But I would argue that Metro is probably the least exciting map in it.
Really? Just
because they've added a lot of cool things, but there's a lot of new things in Battlefield 4 that just does not play nice in the Metro.
Like what?
Specifically the LVG. I actually think that's game-breaking in Metro. It makes it impossible. Because essentially what people can do now is sit at the top. And I know the LVG was in Battlefield 3, and you'd say, well, why didn't that break the game back then? And it's not as strong in Battlefield 3 as it is in Battlefield 4. They've actually made it a lot stronger. You can bank it around and go down the staircase, and you can essentially stop whole squads of people down at the staircase. If you're standing at the second set of MCOMs as they push up there, you can essentially just stop them there with the LVG, and it reloads so quick. It's just everybody's using it on Metro. And there's a lot of new flanking routes, though, that I will point out. If you go behind where the second, I think it's actually the third set of MCOMs, there's actually up there by where the lockers are, directly across from that, you can actually come up and go up this little staircase, and there's a second flanking route there.
Oh, yeah, there's a door
which
on
is
that
interesting
side.
because it does make the game a lot more open on Metro, but you still get a lot of grenade spam at all those places. But what that does is it makes it easier to break through. If you get an organized team effort to go in a certain area, you can have your whole team push up from one side, and the other team will slip on in. So I think that's interesting. It makes that map play a little bit better. But I think as a whole, Metro is still the grenade spam that we all know and love.
Well, good. I mean, if it was too
that's
different, it wouldn't be the same old Metro.
Yeah, that's the TLDR. Metro's the same.
Yeah. So, is your favorite map Operation Firestorm then?
I think Firestorm is the most improved. I think my favorite map out of this is probably Oman, just because I think the Sandstorm is pretty cool. I think that adds a new little element to it, because it does reduce the visibility quite drastically. I also like the crane falling. That was a nice touch, because when the Sandstorm whips up, the counterbalances start to fall off, and then it knocks the crane over. It's similar to the way that the ship comes in on Parasol Storm, so it's not something you actually, I don't think, trigger. It just kind of happens. So I think it's pretty cool. I did get some footage of that, so maybe you can show them that.
yeah, we'll have that playing. And Tim, you played most of the Showdown stuff was on Caspian Border, right?
Yeah.
So I've seen a fair bit of that with the new border wall there and the collapsing tower at D flag, I think.
Yeah, and actually the mechanics on that tower, the way that it collapsed, actually changed from the Showdown build to the build that's out now. It seems like it depends on the team that blows up the tower will change the way that the tower actually falls.
Okay.
So
if
which was
one
new
team
because
does
the
it,
tower
it gives you a benefit.
Yeah, well, the tower always fell in one direction, always fell towards B flag. It always fell towards that checkpoint, and it would crush the wall, and it would give you a new route up into D.
Right.
But now it seems like if the Russians blow it up, then it'll fall towards Echo, which seems to be a different route up from Echo or from Charlie Flag up the hill. And then if it breaks on the U.S. side, then it gives you that route up from Bravo. So that's interesting. But, I mean, for the most part, I think I really did enjoy Caspian a lot, and I really do want to get my hands on it. It's just frustrating we haven't been able to play it yet.
Yeah, I want to play it just because those are the maps I still remember, and we all have fond or poor, bad memories, whatever, of Metro. Everybody's got an opinion on it, no doubt, and it would just be nice to see how they've changed that. What about you mentioned Capture the Flag? Obviously, we've had that. I think that's a game mode that's in the Second Assault DLC, right? And there's also some new weapons. Have you played around with any of those?
Well, this is a funny story. These are all assignment-based weapons, okay? So I've been grinding to get these assignments unlocked. Well, I got reset in rank for the second time. So I'm now back to level 6, and you have to be level 10.
Wait, how did that happen?
I don't know.
Oh, Jesus.
It's some sort of glitch happened. I don't even know if it's been patched. I tried to look it up. I couldn't find anything about it. But anyways, in order to use those weapons, you have to have, be level 10 to unlock them. So it was kind of disheartening because I was sitting here grinding for this F2000, which I finally unlocked, but then it got reset when I went back to actually use it in a different game. Like, I left that server and I came back and I had been reset, so I actually lost it, which was kind of sucky. But yeah, you have the F2000, you got the S-Val. I don't remember what the other one is. But AS-Val I never got a chance to use outside of the showdown.
Yeah,
I can't really.
The M60E4, the Dow 12, and the Gol Magnum, whichever the hell that is. Oh, that's a sniper rifle. That's a sniper rifle that shoots a Magnum round. The skid loader. Have you been able to play the skid loader yet? I heard it can flip tanks over.
I got in it and fooled around. I have not tried the tank thing, though. I'd be interested to see that.
There's probably some videos of that on YouTube.
There's from what I've seen, there's a speed increase, because before they were like little turtles. They took forever to get from one.
Yeah, they do move a lot
one
faster.
point to the next, but now they're actually an option for you to get from point A to point B.
Well, it sounds like Second Assault is something that we're anticipating on the PC and the different consoles as well, but it's hard to get a full picture of it on Xbox One given the fact that there's so few servers, I guess. I actually asked somebody else at some point if they could, grab us some footage of it, and they said, yeah, I'm trying to get into some good games to actually record some, but I really wish that they would tell us when it's coming out. I don't know why they can't.
Well,
we've tried. People have tried, and this is nothing. Nobody's saying anything.
And they said that they're stopping all production on other DLCs,
but like Jake says, it's got to be done.
It's ready to go. It's done. I'm just surprised they can't just say, okay, we're going to release it regardless of what the other DLCs are at. We can release this one. I'm
not expecting it to come out this month or even next month, maybe, because China Rising just came out a couple of weeks ago. But it'd just be nice to know. If it's coming out, the end of February or something. Right. It'd be nice to have confirmation that will indeed be the next one. The next DLC.
Yeah, I would assume it would be, because it would be silly of them to make us wait till the end to get that.
Yeah, I agree. By then, most people have forgotten those maps from BF3, and part of, I think, enjoying them again is being able to compare them to what you're used to. So... I guess everybody who ordered an Xbox One or bought it for Xbox One got that DLC for free, or did you have to be a premium member for that?
Yeah, you had to be a premium member to get it. So I think that was kind of the thing that was driving people crazy. And they actually gave out refunds to people who bought premium on Xbox Live. Like, you can apply for a refund, and Microsoft has been giving them out because of the problems with the game and with the problems with... there being no Second Assault servers.
That's sad when Microsoft, when this is their kind of their PR thing, and then they're kind of going back on it like that. It's very sad to see. Well,
I was going to ask you then, Jake, if you were somebody playing BF4 and the Xbox One and didn't have Second Assault, would you recommend for them to purchase it, or?
I like Second Assault. I would not say that you need to go out of your way to buy premium for it. I actually think at this point, I don't know if it's like available to everybody. I'm not sure. I know that premium did get it like, 2 weeks early, just because that was the deal. I'd have to look into that, but I think Second Assault's worth it. If you're going to want the other DLCs and you want to play it, you might as well get premium. But if I was going to endorse premium right now, I wouldn't say it's that great of a deal.
Right.
It's really it's more of a consumer choice at this point. I mean, if you can hold out for the DLCs, which may or may not be coming since they're having all those delays. I mean, it's up to you. I'll say that. Pretty indecisive answer, but there's a lot of factors when it comes to endorsing premium, just because of all the problems the game's had.
Yeah, it really has been difficult. Like, I really hope that, even from our perspective here on the podcast and what we want to talk about, we did get some good suggestions on Twitter as to what things to talk about. But, and I mentioned this last time, I don't know what the cue will be for people to say, yes, the game's now good, or it seems so complicated, and the hole's gotten so deep that I think people are starting to lose sight of the surface in some way. And every time that something else goes wrong, it just adds to the pile of people's complaints. There are the occasional mentions of people who say that they have no issues at all and that they're really enjoying it. So that's good, I guess. I mean, I really wish that everybody can enjoy it more. And the last time I played it on the PC, for me, it was good. It was fine. I played Gloves for Tags yesterday and didn't have any issues. But clearly, there's still a lot of things to be worked out. And I'm really hoping that the next time that we do a podcast, we'll be able to say, the latest patch really solved whatever 90% of the problems that everybody was having. And I don't know. I don't know when that will be. I don't know what the indication of that will be either.
I was really hoping it was going to be around this time. I was really hoping that right around Christmas time would be when that fix all kind of patch would hit and kind of fix a lot of the issues. I mean, like you said, I think a lot of like the client crashing and server crashes have somewhat come to a stop for the most part. I mean, I know that it happens every once in a while for everyone.
I haven't had a server crash in a long time.
I haven't seen a server crash since like the first week or so, but I think the last client crash I had was like last week. I know Jake had one like today. So it's so hit or miss. So it's very frustrating, but I was really hoping it was going to be sometime this week or next week we were going to have that fix all patch, but maybe beginning of the year we'll see it.
I guess you got to think at this point now, any patch that doesn't break something majorly is going to be a success, right?
Right. Is something like breaking visuals is frustrating.
Because we haven't even had a chance to talk about imbalances in the game yet, like talking about the mobile AA and some of these issues that we used to talk about all the time with BF3. People's complaints back then were, little birds are underpowered or attack helicopters are overpowered. Nobody's really talking about that right now.
It's hard to tell because with this one-shot problem that exists, how do you really know which guns are the best? I mean, I think there's a common consensus that the ACE-23 and the AEK and M416 are the best assault rifles, but beyond that, it seems like we don't really know which weapons are going to be the best, in my opinion, just because there has been so many netcode issues.
Well, I guess... do we have any sort of closing thoughts that we want to mention? Hopes for the next patch? I mean, obviously this is going to get fixed. This graphics problem, that's going to happen soon, no doubt about that. But what are the big outstanding things? Like, if you had to make a list of the top 3 things that you think that they need to address across all platforms, what are those? Like, if I'm DICE and I'm sitting here, I can fix 3 things just like that by snapping my fingers. What are those 3 things?
Met code, or the hit. I'll just call it hit detection. Okay. They just need to figure out what the heck's going on. I just want it back to the way Battlefield 3 was. That's my number one, to the point where I wouldn't care about anything else. That's how adamant I am for
Yeah,
that
it
getting
was
fixed.
interesting. If we want to talk about netcode real quick, someone in on Reddit actually put together something that was saying that it wasn't so much a netcode issue, that it was an actual lag issue, an actual stress on the client was actually causing the hit detection to not work anymore. Like he actually put load on his CPU and showed that when there was load on the CPU, that his hit detection was actually causing a delay between the server reacting to him hitting the target. And then when he didn't put load on the CPU, the hit was actually working. So it was weird for him. Like it was very inconsistent. So like it worked when there wasn't load, and it wasn't working when there was load. So I wonder if that's more of an issue than it is actual just like this weird netcode that we've seen.
Well, netcode is always just one of those.
Well,
catch-all
netcode is
terms
a big
anyways.
umbrella that we put it under, but like this hit detection, I wonder if that's more of an issue.
I have a really bad feeling that there's no way that they'll ever be able to fix that to people's expectations, because any time that something happens now that people go, what the fuck was that? It's just going to be like, oh, I guess they still haven't fixed the netcode.
Yeah,
I don't think this is repairable.
It's very inconsistent.
I can't picture any kind of solution to this, because we know that some of that is always going to happen. Some of that happened in BF3. You'd get shot behind cover, and people would yell about that and scream about that, and then it would come down to tweak your network smoothing factor and stuff like that. But I don't know. Anyways, hopefully we'll get another patch here before Christmas, even though that's only a couple of days ago. Really, a couple of work days.
I'm guessing we're going to get a patch. What's today?
It's the 18th.
I think we'll probably get a patch on like the 23rd, I would guess.
Yeah, on Monday.
Maybe. I don't know if they leave for the weekend. Maybe they'll try to push one out before they go.
If they're in Sweden, they're going to have at least a couple of weeks off.
Yeah, they have a lot of holidays.
Well, and rightfully so, but the timing's bad.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when you release a game just before Christmas and you hope everything goes well and things don't go well. So, I guess we could wrap it up here. Jake, why don't you tell people where they can find you online and your YouTube channel and all the stuff that you produce?
All right. Well, my YouTube channel is IntheWorks Media. I typically shoot for like 5 videos a week on there. Lately, because of the Battlefield 4 issues, it has been a little less than that. But I typically just do whatever I feel like in terms of Battlefield content. Sometimes it's a little bit more strategic and in-depth on weapons and stuff like that. But I often am known for doing a lot of lighthearted sort of commentaries and stuff like that. So check it out if you feel inclined. But
yeah, we'll also have that link in the description and also a link to your Twitter as well.
Tweet.
And Tim, you want to do the spiel for Everything Battlefield Podcast?
Sure. If you guys liked the video here on YouTube, please make sure to hit the like button. If you're new to the Battlefield Podcast and like we're doing here, you think these podcast guys are pretty cool, make sure to hit the subscribe button for the podcast. If you would like to listen to this on iTunes or even on SoundCloud, if you want to take this with you in the car, on the train ride, when you're walking your dog, please make sure to check out iTunes, check for Battlefield Podcast, check out SoundCloud, check for Battlefield Podcast. And then for all the other social media links and whatnot, you can head on over to www.battlefieldpodcast.com for all those.
And I think we probably won't be back with another podcast until the new year, and hopefully by then we'll have some positive things to talk about. Hopefully maybe we'll get to talk about some of the weapons, some of the vehicles, some of the things we like about stuff, some of the normal things that we would like to talk about. So until then, everybody, thank you so much for watching or listening, and we'll catch you again soon.